The first time I came to Vietnam, I had big plans for my trip, but then I got food poisoning and shit myself in my bed for a week. So this time we're doing it right, and I'll be renting a motorbike and driving from Saigon all the way to Hanoi, and you will see everything that happens. Good, bad, or really shitty.
That's me, Monet. I've been to over 40 countries solo, and I still have almost no special skills. But I do love making a fool of myself, so join me on my adventures doing things I've never done before. This episode, we're going to Vietnam, where I'll get on a motorbike for the first time and definitely not crash it. Vietnam is the fourth largest country in Southeast Asia. Its long, narrow body touches China in the north while snuggling Laos and Cambodia to the west. I first came to Vietnam almost exactly 10 years ago as a 19-year-old on a gap year. I knew I would come back one day to see more. I'll be starting my trip in Vietnam's most populated city, where I'll get on a motorbike for the first time and drive the length of the country, almost 2,000 kilometers up to the capital, Hanoi. Ho Chi Minh City is Vietnam's biggest tourist destination. Don't get confused when you hear it being called Saigon. The city's name was changed after the Vietnam War in the 70s, but many people still use the two names interchangeably. It's my first time in Saigon, so I've enlisted the help of a friend of a friend of a stranger to show me around.
Today, I'm going to show you more of the city, specifically the history and also the culture and the people. So I was born and I grew up in the city, and this is my home city. This is my turf. I really love it.
As an American in Vietnam, I'm very aware that I'm visiting the site of one of my country's darkest stains. The Vietnam War, which in Vietnam is referred to as the American War, reverberates throughout the city with memorials, historical markers, and hidden underground bunkers, like this one here. An took me to one place in particular that your guidebooks won't tell you how to get to.
You can see there's a small gray box on top of the building. So yep, that's the place where this very famous photo here happened.
During the Vietnam War, the country was essentially split in half, with the Americans in the south and the communist Viet Cong in the north. To many, this photograph is the emblem of the end of the war. It was taken the day before Saigon was won back by the north, and anyone and everyone who had worked with the Americans was desperately trying to flee the city.
So these people, they're actually not American soldiers. They're actually Vietnamese people who work for the American government here.
The U.S. knew they had lost the war and had been quietly evacuating their own citizens in the weeks leading up to this point, which for the majority of cases meant abandoning the Vietnamese who had worked alongside the Americans to fend for themselves against the swiftly arriving Viet Cong.
Card there, it says United States Mission Saigon. But do you know that all the Americans are gone?
Yes, I know that, but I must come in case, just in case.
The helicopter you see in the photo, this is the very last helicopter. So that's why they stood on the roof for like an hour, waiting for another helicopter. It would never come. We will try to get up on that very spot. Cameras away, just like random tourists. We just private security to get up here.
An official tour.
This is where it happened. That box here, right on top of this.
Right on top, right? So there were some
Yeah.
stairs. Oh my God!
As I stood on the edge of a building that had witnessed a pivotal moment in world history, I knew I was ready to go see more of this amazing country. It was time to go pick up my bike.
We're on our way to pick up the motorbike, and after we pick it up, I will have a little bit of time to practice, and then I have to drive it home, back to our hotel by myself, through a tunnel. I'm a little bit nervous. It's gonna be fine. Going to be fine. I can do it, I can do it. I kind of feel like I'm gonna vomit. Right up here, Tidget. Hi, I'm picking up a bike today. Can you give me how to drive it? 5-minute lesson because I don't want to die. Is this my practice space?
So you have 4 years total for this bike.
Okay.
So when you pedal right here is the back brake.
Back brake.
Yes. And this one is the front brake.
Okay. And when do you use
back
the
brake.
front brake?
Low speed.
Low
you use it
speed.
for
Low
brake.
speed front brake, high speed back
Yeah,
brake.
when you're driving on a high speed, super quite rapid.
I should just get on it.
Yeah, sit down and buy
Okay, I'll just get on it. Is it this way? Ooh.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Woo. Ah.
Tidget says you can learn to ride their bikes in 5 minutes. I was skeptical. But after 15 minutes of driving around, I was surprised by how comfortable I started to feel with my new best friend.
I already love you, bike. We have to head back to the hotel now, which means I have to drive on a real road with real cars and real other scooters, not this sort of empty road where I've been practicing. And I might die. Ah! It's gonna be a lot easier when I'm not wearing my glasses.
Feeling about 30% confident in my abilities, the next day I woke up before the crack of dawn so I could get out of the city without hitting traffic.
If I was feeling good about this, I'm not right now.
âm mỹ dòng dĩ son dưới làng trên hàng trăm người kéo nhau về người quốc người xới đào nát vườn ra họ cho rằng cha đã giết con mình. Ôi người ơi.
I just picked up a bun off the side of the road. Also, I have no idea what's in this.
Thanks to the wonders of the internet, I now know that these are called Banbao 69 because the roadside kiosks are said to be an auspicious 69 kilometers from Saigon.
Ooh, there's an egg.
Inside is pork and a quail egg,
It's surprisingly super sweet.
and eating it pink is totally fine.
That doesn't look cooked. It looks a little bit raw. Okay. I'm really hungry.
With an auspicious bun in my belly, I made it to our first stop, Ho Tram, a small fishing village 3 hours outside of Saigon. Or 5 if you've never ridden a motorbike before.
âm mỹ dòng dĩ son dưới làng trên hàng trăm người kéo nhau
I am trying to get from my beach hotel to Ho Tram Hamlet so I can get some delicious seafood. But I would not suggest taking the route that I am taking right now. There's this huge concrete structure that juts out into the beach, so I've had to go through a trash pile and some abandoned lots to get this far. Let's see what happens next.
With a coast spanning over 3,000 kilometers, Vietnam has a booming seafood industry, and in the south, seafood restaurants carry the freshest of fresh fish. Cut to 2 hours later,
I am still walking, and I have some serious chafing happening down there, but I am going to get to this fucking seafood. We are 2.2 kilometers away. I have no idea what that means. Okay, I made it. That was a very stupid idea. Oh my gosh, my thighs are on fire.
seafood restaurants like this one are all over the coast. Don't worry about a menu, just point and say how many kilos you want. And remember that anything cold can double as an ice pack when you happen to have left your mega babe at home.
Shaped thighs and all. This was worth it. I don't even like beer. Day 2.
After the first day on the road, I was feeling good. I was a biker chick. Woman.
Anh Nhi ơi, mua em đôi ba cặp vé số để rồi 10 cọc 2 5 một lần trúng xổ số lại nè.
But it's when you get too comfortable that shit can really hit the fan.
So that is the bridge I'm supposed to take, and it's not a bridge anymore. There is a road that motorbikes can go on, but that means we have to figure out what to do with the cinematographer / our luggage.
We decided to go super bare bones on clothes and camera equipment and head together on the bike.
We're going to put the gin in a very safe spot. We'll be having you later.
After agreeing to meet back up with Nam, our driver, in 2 days' time, Naima, my cinematographer, hopped on the back of my bike.
Are you safe with me?
Yeah.
On the back?
Yeah.
On that thing?
Except that the weight of a second person completely changes how you drive, especially when you're on a narrow dirt track.
Sorry. Wait. Okay, we got it. We definitely got it. I need to go down to a lower gear.
And then that happened.
Oh my god. Okay. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Oh, are you okay? Yeah. Okay.
Two men had immediately stopped to help us. Oh, and this is what used to be attached to the back of my bike.
It's the tonic water that's spilling everywhere. It's not gas.
And one of the men offered to drive Naima the remaining few miles since I had obviously proven myself incapable. Even though we were still a bit shaken up, we knew pretty quickly that we had arrived at someplace extra special.
Completely worth almost dying. No, it's not. That means worth almost dying. So Camlap is kind of an up-and-coming tourist destination. While some of the other beach towns along Vietnam are kind of like insanely touristy, Camlap feels very private and very secluded. Some have called it the Maldives of Vietnam. Look at it's like 8 different purples in those mountains.
Tình yêu là con tàu nếu không có thuyền trưởng.
After a couple of restful days in Cam Lop, we headed back out to the main road. Naima got a ride through our hotel to meet up with our driver and continue our journey up the coast.
Day 4, day 5, one of those days.
I was immediately thankful I got to experience the serenity of Cam Lop because this drive was not a scenic one.
So, I am currently driving along Highway 1, which I'm not gonna lie, kind of sucks. It's a 2-lane highway that has huge trucks and huge double-decker buses going down it that then pass each other. The only positive note is that right before they run you over, they honk really loudly, so at least you know death is coming.
But at the end of a long day of busy roads, I turned off the highway and found my way to Bai Mon Beach, where I planned to rent a tent and camp out for the night.
I have arrived on my secluded beach, and now all I have to do is set up my tent, which I feel totally proficient at. No worries. Finished my tent with absolutely no help whatsoever. I did this completely on my own and definitely no one helped me do it. It is just after 6:30 in the evening and I have nothing to eat and nothing to drink and nothing to do. So I guess I'm gonna go to bed. Okay, good night.
I woke up with the sunrise and got back on the road. The next days were long.
My butt is so sore. It feels like it's been permanently flattened.
But the only way out is through. And eventually, I arrived in Hoi An, a historic city that marked the halfway point of my journey.
Oh my gosh, it's like a humidor under here. Now I get to take my butt off a motorbike for at least one full day, which I think it will greatly appreciate because I have Band-Aids on my butt right now. Band-Aids.
Now, there are a lot of tourists in Hoi An, but I would not suggest skipping it because this city has a lot to offer, and the crowds are just one part of the experience.
Oh my gosh, look at his buns.
While in Hoi An, I was invited to chat with Vietnamese restaurateur and acclaimed chef Ms. V at her famous market restaurant and cooking school. V's name is everywhere in Hoi An. She's been featured in the New York Times and is expanding her foodie empire internationally this year.
Can you talk about, describe Vietnamese food and what it's like?
If the southern people, they food more sweet, middle part more spicy, and north quite mild. We have a French influence. Talk about pho. Pho is original, it's pot-au-feu.
Oh wow!
Yes.
That's where it comes from?
Yes.
Oh, I had no idea.
During the French occupation, they cooked pot-au-feu with oxtail, marrow bone, with vegetable. Instead of serve with baguette, we are more familiar with noodle, rice noodle. So become, instead of call pot-au-feu, we call pho.
And it's funny, in the US, it's mispronounced so badly. Everyone says pho.
Pho, yes.
Yeah.
Pho.
Pho.
So instead of fur, fur is fire.
Yeah.
It's a pho.
Pho.
Not only will you finally learn how to properly pronounce pho, you can eat it and learn how to cook it, plus dozens of other specialty foods from all over the country at V's Market Restaurant. On top of that, this is one of the best ways to use your money to support local businesses and the 750 staff members who bust their asses in her restaurants every single day. V herself got behind the counter to make us one of her favorite mango salads before we got down to some serious eating.
I can't wait to try all of this.
My mouth
Yeah,
is
yeah. Try the butter salad and then put on top your rice paper.
Wow, that mango's amazing. It's like sunlight in my mouth.
How simple it is.
Yeah.
Is it?
I love that. I think that might be my favorite.
There was one more stop I needed to make in Hoi An. Alongside the delicious food I'd eaten and the wonderful people I'd met along the way, there was something in Vietnam I couldn't help but notice everywhere. And I went to talk to someone who had been doing something about it.
You know, I get money from the river and then I need to do something for the river. Every Saturday morning, I raise the people from Hoi An and they come and help me to do the kayak and collect the rubbish on the river. Now I did 3 years already and, you know, get a lot of rubbish and the river look better.
It looks better.
Long time ago, my grandfather and my grandma, they go to the market with a big bag. They put everything in the bag, you know, and they can, for the meat, they can cover with the banana leaf, and they can throw everywhere to the garden or the river. It's okay because that will come back to the nature, or that will be gone very quickly, like in a week.
Before plastic, people had these natural forms of coverings, and then they threw them in the river, and it didn't matter because they just degrade or go away.
That is a culture. They think leave everything down to the river, and the river will be taken out to the sea. The local here, they just throw everything to the river. Yesterday I get a 2 TV, big TV. They think that gone, but not. You know, they don't understand about that cannot gone in 100 years or more than that. Like even like go past like 4 or 5 generations. They can see they can see the TV in the ocean. Everyone need to work together, like make clean. For the first, you clean your house first, and then you clean your street, and you clean the river and the sea, and you clean everywhere you see the rubbish.
Are there other companies like you who are doing cleanups?
For the river, it's just only me, yeah.
Long's message is pretty clear. We all need to do our part to protect our rapidly changing world. And I, for one, know that I'm not doing nearly enough. So today we are driving through the Saigon Pass. It looks like the weather might change on us a little bit. It's a geographical barrier, so apparently the weather can be drastically different on the other side. After the Saigon Pass, I am officially in the north of Vietnam. I say goodbye to the coast and start to head inland, taking the historic Ho Chi Minh Road, which roughly follows the same path as the trail system that supplied troops in the south during the Vietnam War.
Back to riding.
By this point, I've driven over 1,500 kilometers in 12 days.
Okay, we arrived at a hotel. It's pretty gross, but I'm the grossest thing in any room at this point, so it doesn't really matter.
I can feel how close I am to the end and have to remind myself to take some moments to just soak in my surroundings. As we went further into the north, things really started to change.
You know, whenever I read things, it kept on saying the north is going to be colder and wetter than you expect it to be, and they were right. It is colder and it is wetter. We just have to get through it.
And then, just when I think I can't take one more cold, rainy day on the bike,
My fingertips have gone numb. It's really cold. I just want to get there fast, but slow and safe.
I realize it's my last day on the road. In the city, the indisputable king of the road is the motorbike. Even after riding for 2 weeks straight, I'm worried I might not be prepared for this.
Oh my god, my legs are like jelly. That was so fucking insane. Driving here is crazy. I feel like the entire trip was leading up to this moment, and I think I passed. We did it! We're in Hanoi! Over the past 20 minutes, we have compiled the best and the worst of our comments and questions from you, our viewers. My producer just handed me the top 3 questions on the back of a camera manual. Off we go. David and Mateo from Sudbury write, your last episode in Nepal was awesome, very entertaining, except for the part where you got your period. What the F is wrong with you? You know, David and Mateo, I've been thinking the same thing because it just keeps happening to me every single month. Do you think I should get that checked out? Nah. Okay, question number 2 comes from Jane in South Africa. I can't believe you rode a motorbike up the whole length of Vietnam when you've never even ridden a motorbike before. That takes some serious balls. Actually, Jane, that is a common misconception. What it takes is some pretty big ovaries, and mine are gigantic. Last but not least, we have a question from Mervyn Yankelson of Austin, Texas, who says, how the hell did you know where to go, Monet, when you've only been to this country once before and you're driving up the entire length of it? I'm glad you asked that, Mervyn. I'm going to give a huge shout out to VietnamCoracle.com. I think it's some British guy who's running it, who knows the country really well. He gives you Google Maps to tell you where to go. You should do it too. If you want your question answered, simply make a comment somewhere and I might find it one day.
Do you wanna watch the sunrise with me? Let's go